May I come in, sir? Thank you, sir.
Mrunali Joshi.
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of Mrunali?
Sir, the meaning of Mrunali is the stalk of the lotus flower.
How you are feeling today?
Sir, I'm doing good, thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Why you have chosen civil service?
Sir, I'm inspired by my parents, and growing up, I've seen them coming up from a very humble background, and the kind of value structure that I've been brought up in, I think that has influenced throughout my life till now. And I think my nurture as well as my nature together inspire me to opt for civil services, which I think would be a good platform to do something meaningful and purposeful.
Okay. So in your opinion, what should be the characteristics of good citizen?
Sir, I think the characteristics of a good citizen, first, a good citizen must be aware of his duties as he is of his rights. So he must be able to perform his duties to the best of his extent. Second, he must, whenever he visits any place or in a public sphere, in a public domain, he must take care of the basic responsibilities such as not littering the ground or helping citizens wherever possible. So that I think these two major characteristics of doing duties and behaving in a public sphere in a responsible way are the good characteristics of a citizen.
Okay, good. Mrunali, please.
Brunali,
Yes, sir.
your option is public administration.
Yes, sir.
Now, when we talk about the politics in India, we have seen that Indian politics is going in a new phase. We'll be coming on to that also. But it has been said that Indian politics has been changed after the Mandal Commission. Mandalization of politics has happened. What is this phenomenon of mandalization of politics?
Sir, as per my knowledge, I think the phenomenon of mandalization of politics refers to the stronger demand for reservations, especially for the backward classes, and then its influence on politics. So caste-based politics can be one of the interpretations according to me. Other interpretations I'm unaware, sir.
Okay, so you say one of interpretation could be caste-based politics.
Yes, sir.
So has been caste-based politics become a prominent feature only after Mandal Commission? Was it not there earlier?
Sir, it was certainly there, and it was there as a phenomenon in politics. However, with the massive thrust and legalization of the 27% reservation to the backward classes, the demand for the other sections as grew, and that is why, sir, we say that the thrust has been majorly after the Mandal Commission recommendations acceptance.
Okay, in this context, Nali, if we see some more themes or some more scenarios are emerging. We have seen recently 127th Constitutional Amendment Bill has been passed.
Yes, sir.
There are the different demands. For example, the 50% quota limit needs to be revised.
Yes.
It is said that caste census needs to be there. So it has been said that now the politics in India is going into a new phase, the third phase of mandalization of politics. Can you explain what is this third phase of mandalization of politics and how it is different from earlier two phases?
Sir, if I could have a minute to recollect my
Yes.
Sir, I'm sorry, the only thing I can think about is more thrust on the caste-based reservation.
Okay, so there was one of a prominent personality. He belongs to the Tagore family. He challenged the oil painting by the natural colors and all such kind of thing. Can you recall which personality I'm talking about?
Sir, if I can recollect correctly, it is Abanindranath Tagore, who
Yes.
was the famous nationalist painter.
You might be
challenged-
knowing that this year we are celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Abanindranath Tagore.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us more about him? How he contributed into the freedom struggle?
Sir, Abanindranath Tagore, as you said rightly, it was he who challenged the oil and acrylic painting, the Western influence on painting, and he brought in the nationalistic stream to painting as such. And the Bengal School of Art was majorly influenced by and started by Abanindranath Tagore. You see a lot of other painters such as Nandalal Ghosh amongst others who were also in the same stream as Abanindranath Tagore was. This is what I can recollect.
Okay. Can you tell us the name of the most important paintings or the portraits that he made?
Sir, one of the painting I can think of is the Bharat Mata painting which was there. And it was the figure of a lady who was depicted in the form of Bharat Mata holding a national flag of India.
National flag, are you sure?
Sir,
Have you seen the painting of Bharat Mata?
Yes, sir, I've seen it, but at this moment I cannot recollect whether it was a
So
national flag.
what mode she is holding apart from the flag? It is there.
Sir, I can recollect that there is a portrayal of India, the map of India behind her. She is wearing a sari.
At that point of time, was there any kind of a unified map of India?
No, sir, it wasn't there. But as far as I can recollect, it was the outline below, behind her, which was there.
Okay, you need to relook onto that painting
Sure,
again
I will,
because
sir.
on these things.
Yes.
Okay, look onto that. Okay, Mrunali, what is your assessment onto the present way in which government is functioning? The way in which this parliament monsoon session has concluded, the way in which the government has handled the questions onto the pandemic or in general. What is your assessment on that?
So on the positive front, we see that the second wave, though it was quite lethal in terms of the kind of impact it had on the citizens, we can see that the economic front, we haven't suffered much. So that is a positive thing. On the second front, we also see that there are preparations for the third wave, which is indeed a good thing in terms of the government functioning. In terms of a negative part, sir, we see that the parliament currently has not had much of fruitful debate, and there was a lot of disruption in the parliament. So that is a negative front, and that cannot be seen good in the context of a deliberative democracy in the true sense. So that is the negative thing which is.
Mrunali, you have
Yes.
said that economy had not suffered that
Yes.
much. Can you substantiate it by some reports, some numbers, some data? How you can say that the economy has not suffered?
Sir, if we see the Center for Monitoring Indian Economies report, which is a public funded, which is a think tank which substantiates reports on economics, we see that unemployment rate hasn't much suffered, especially as compared to the first wave. We see 6 to 7% rate of unemployment, wherein it was 9% during the first wave. Second major point which I can think of is that the GDP numbers had gone nearly minus 25% in the April-May context last year. Today we see that it is close to nearly, it is cornering the near positive front, so that is a positive thing. Also on the RBI context, we see that Reserve Bank of India has said that there are positive outlook, especially in the August Monetary Policy Commission report which was said. So there are positive fronts on that front, and inflation is also said to have moderated in this wave. So
Okay,
that is a
Mrunali,
good thing.
you have given the reference of Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. In
Yes,
fact, CMIE has been very much critical of the government onto the unemployment front.
Yes,
Recently, the periodic labor force survey has been announced.
yes,
In the periodic labor force survey also, if we see, the unemployment has not decreased, rather it has increased if we see it onto the CWS status.
yes, sir.
Is it clear? So do look onto that, and in fact, the World Economic Outlook report has been updated recently, and India's growth prospect, they have been reduced by 3 percentage points.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
I'll look into that.
So that is the thing. Thank you, Mrunali.
Thank you.
Recently, government passed juvenile justice amendment bill.
Yes, sir.
तो उसके मेन फीचर के बारे में कुछ आप बताइए.
The Juvenile Justice Amendment Bill gives more powers to the district magistrates, mainly in terms of adoption, in terms of also registering complaints and monitoring the child welfare committees which are there. So the district magistrate is empowered more in this amendment bill which was passed.
Okay. Okay. So what is the role of the child welfare committee in the district?
So the exact role I am unable to recollect now.
Okay. जेंडर बजटिंग के बारे में आपने सुना.
Yes, sir.
गवर्नमेंट ने बजट में भी इसे लेके आए. आज के दौर में क्या आपको लगता है कि ये स्कीम है जो विमेंस के लिए किस लेवल तक ये बेनिफिट पहुंचा रही है?
Sir, gender budgeting, though it was introduced in 2005, we haven't seen nearly increasing allocation in terms of budgets, separate budgets. So we see nearly 4.9% of allocation of budgets since the gender budgeting was initially introduced. So that hasn't been implemented to the best of the extent. However, the schemes that you mentioned, we certainly have good schemes such as the Poshan Abhiyan, which is there. And so this is the major scheme which is currently there. Other schemes, we haven't seen a much positive outlook with respect to that, sir.
So, Mrinali,
Yes, sir.
you belong to Nagpur and you have studied in Pune.
Yes, sir.
What are the most important differences between Nagpur and Pune as two cities?
Sir, in terms of the weather and climate, if I could begin with that, Nagpur has a dry climate and harsh winters. In terms of Pune, we have a moderate climate, and the winters are mild, if not as harsh as Nagpur. Second important difference is Nagpur is called as a tiger gateway of Maharashtra because it is close to various national parks. In terms of Pune, we see that historically it has been the stronghold of the Peshwas which were there. So we have a lot of forts which are close to Pune in the major context. Second, in terms of Nagpur, the third point, if I could say, is that Nagpur is the winter capital of Maharashtra, and the winter session of the Maharashtra Parliament is carried out there. In terms of Pune, it is a major industrial center, emerging industrial center, as well as an educational hub, Oxford of the East as it's called. So these are the three major differences.
Okay. So Oxford of the East, who is the most notable alumni of the Fergusson College?
Sir, there are many alumni, but
If we have to call one of them
Yes,
as the
sir.
most notable?
Sir, I would say it was Pula Deshpande, who was a famous noted literate, and he is known across Maharashtra for his works in Marathi literature.
But he is
along with
someone who is known only across Maharashtra. Is there anyone who is known across the country or across the
Yes,
world?
sir. We have Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was the Honorable Prime Minister of India.
So how do you rate him as a Prime Minister of India?
Sir, I would rate him as a fairly good Prime Minister of India, primarily because of the 1991 reforms that were done during his time, which changed the trajectory of the entire economy, and liberalization, privatization, globalization has seen a major growth trajectory after that.
Okay. And what are your views on Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, who also belonged to your college?
Yes, sir. V.D. Savarkar's contribution, both in terms of his nationalistic fervor in founding the Abhinav Bharat as a movement, as well as his literary contributions and his oratory skills are certainly well known. So I would rate him as a good freedom fighter who hastened the freedom struggle, especially in the radical or the extremist wing of the Indian national struggle.
Okay. You have mentioned that you are fond of doing online courses
Yes, sir.
on MOOCs. What is your view on this, our online education structure right now, which has been, we have been exposed badly and we are not able to meet the challenges which we are facing because of this pandemic. What are the shortcomings?
Sir, indeed, as you said, online education has been the major source of education during the pandemic era. The major shortcomings I see is that the first is the infrastructural shortcoming, because we see that nearly 42% of the people in India don't have access to internet, and good stable internet connection is the major shortcoming if we see across India. Along with access equity, I think it is also the gender equity, inequity which is observed across India. So female access to internet is also a major issue. Second shortcomings is that we don't have these MOOCs in local languages. So it is only English that is there, and we need to work on that front as well. So in terms of both infrastructure as well as the content and the language issue, we have to work on this.
What is the condition of police reforms in Maharashtra? Very often we come across news that, lot of political interference going on, and police, Commissioner of Mumbai himself, being accused of so many other things. What is the status of police reforms? Because you are also a student of public administration, I see. So, has Maharashtra implemented all the reforms which were recommended by the Supreme Court in the Prakash Singh case?
Sir, unfortunately, they are there in letter but not in spirit. So, for example, we have the Police Establishment Board, which is present in Maharashtra. However, we see that the Chief Minister himself is a chairman of the Police Establishment Board, and the transfers and promotions which are there, they are not in accordance with the impartially or not in accordance with the actual spirit of the Honorable Prakash Singh judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court. So that is a major issue. And also with respect to the lower level constabulary, we see that we have a lot of police force which is demotivated, which is there in Maharashtra, and which was reflected in the recent controversy with respect to the Police Commissioner of Mumbai, as you said. So we have them in letter but not in spirit, unfortunately.
My last question is, what are the milestones which have been set by the Prime Minister in this Independence Day speech?
Sir, I can recollect some of the major features if I will. I can't remember the exact milestones, I'm sorry. I can think of, first is the Sainik schools which will be opened for women. That is a major thing, that would be a landmark step. Next is the Gati Shakti mission which is there, which the Honorable Prime Minister has announced for India. These are the two things I can recollect, sir. I will read about it and study more.
Okay, good, Runali. In one of your answers, you were talking about a deliberate democracy. I want to know what it is actually.
Yes, sir. Sir, a deliberative democracy is a democracy in which all the stakeholders, which include the opposition party leaders as well as the representatives elected by the people of India, come together, discuss, deliberate, especially the different committees which are there in the parliament. They function, they exchange views, and they come up with good suggestions so that both the government which is there in power as well as the opposition party has an important role in the democratic setup of India.
We have or not?
Sir, currently we see a decline in deliberative democracy, which is unfortunate.
Okay. My last question.
Yes.
Present policy of reservation, in your view, should continue or not?
Sir, if we look at the data, we see that the representation of the backward classes, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, has not been up to date. For example, we have only 4% of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes which are represented in the administration. And this continues in all other fields as well, including social discrimination they face, economic backwardness they face. For example, 34% of the scheduled caste, scheduled
So reservation should be population based or need based?
Sir, I think in future we need to move towards a more targeted quota based reservation, so that we target the last person on the ladders and they reach to them, we reach the benefits of reservation in the best possible way and they are uplifted. So,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.